Okay, everyone. There has been a lot of conversation and controversy, or controversy, like that word. I say controversy. I'm going to have to pause this for just a second. Now, apparently many of you are possibly aware that there are some issues with the Bible that most people are aware of but they ignore. So, what we are going to do is we're going to talk about today what it is that Jesus died on. Remember, he said in the book of John that he came not to destroy the law, but to fulfill the law. Now that's important because there were certain laws that were put in place that must have been fulfilled. Jesus himself fulfilled over 300 prophecies. And that's not talked about by a lot of people. 300 prophecies. No man, no creature in existence can hold title to that claim, or even come close to holding title to that claim. So, what are we doing here? We're going to show you from the Bible what Jesus died on. Now, the reason why we were going to this publication here is we need to show you something in Exodus. Now, most people know of Exodus, the 20th chapter. That's where we find the recording of the Ten Commandments. However, these commandments are not the one that was written on the tablets. This was the actual commandments that God spoke to the people. Notice what he says. He says, "And God proceeded to speak all of these words." And then we got verse number 1. Sorry about that, clearing my throat on the microphone. I apologize. That's not my intention, but it's one of those things. Okay, let me put everything within the frame here, and let's go back up so we can get the whole scripture. He says, "I am Jehovah," I said Jehovah, "Jehovah your God, who have brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slaves. You must not have any other gods against my face." Now here's the important part. You must not make for yourselves a carved image, or a form like anything that is in the heavens above, or that is on the earth underneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You must not bow down to them, nor be induced to serve them. Meaning no one should force you to bow down to images, idols, statues. Because I, Jehovah, your God, am a God exacting exclusive devotion. You see, he refers to himself as being a jealous God. Now, he refers to his exclusive devotion, so let's take a look at the highlighted point, or a God who is jealous. You'll see that the King James Version uses the word jealous. A God not tolerating rivalry. You see, he will not accept competition. So he will not allow his creatures whom he created to serve another God. He says that he will bring punishment for the error of the father upon the sons, upon the third generation, upon the fourth generation, in the case of those who hate him. See, he says bowing down to another image, statue, or idol is likened to hating him. Now, when he says he's going to bring punishment upon the father upon the sons, he's not saying that because the father made a mistake, the son would have to pay for it. Because that's unscriptural. The Bible never says that I have to pay for someone else's sin. Now, people say, well, we're paying for Adam's sin. No, we're not. We received imperfection as a result of Adam's sin, but we are not held responsible for Adam's sin. Adam paid the price for his sin. Romans 6:7 says the wages that sin pays is death. So Adam paid the price for his sin. But we sin every day as a result of imperfection, not as a result of Adam. That is different. I know some people will get technical with it, but scripturally, we sin every day as a result of imperfection because Adam passed imperfection on to his offspring. It's a genetic inheritance. Now let's continue. It says that he will not hold the sons accountable for the errors of the father. And Ezekiel, the 18th chapter. If you get a chance, read Ezekiel 18, verse 20. You'll see that the sun cannot be held. Well, sorry, this is a site where we back up what we say. We can't just talk about it and then tell you go look up. No, what we're going to do is we're going to go there so that you can see it for yourself. Now, this is the 18th verse, and usually when bringing people to this verse, we show people that individuals don't have a soul, because they're taught that in churches, that you have a soul and your soul survives death. And we'll talk about that in a different video. But notice it says, look, all souls to me they belong. Now, who's saying this? Well, this is the utterance of the sovereign Lord Jehovah. So Jehovah is saying this. He says, it will no more continue to be yours to express this proverbial saying in Israel. So he says, look, all souls to me they belong. As the soul of the Father, so likewise the soul of the Son. To me they belong. The soul that is sinning, it itself will die. Well, according to the churches, your soul doesn't die. But according to the Bible, the person is the soul. I'll repeat this saying so most people can understand. Most people know of the saying, O King Cole was a merry old soul, a merry old soul was he. Because in ancient times, they believed that the human being was the soul. Your body is not a vessel encasing your soul. Your body is the soul. Now, how do we know this? Because Genesis 2:7 says Adam became a living soul when God blew into the breath, or into his nostrils, the breath of life. That's Genesis 2:7. Then we also have the fact that in ancient times, in the 1800s, 1900s, you'll hear the saying 21 souls were lost at sea. But according to this, the soul dies. So the soul is not immortal. It is not eternal. The soul is the individual. It's a human being. Well, let's look at verse number 20, because verse number 20 is going to help us understand another truth. The soul that is sinning, and all mankind are sinners, it itself will die. So there is no such thing as an eternal soul. A son himself will not bear nothing because of the error of the father, and the father himself will not bear nothing because of the error of the son. Upon his own self the very righteousness of the one will come to be, and upon his own self the very wickedness of the wicked one will come to be. So if a son cannot be held accountable for the deeds of the father, then why does Exodus, the 20th chapter, verse number 5, say that Jehovah will bring punishment for the error of father upon the sons? Because when it comes to worshiping God and individuals doing it the wrong way, they teach those wrong practices to their children, and then they teach it to their children, and then they teach it to their children. It's called tradition. So because of the tradition, he will not excuse the other members for not knowing that he is a jealous God, that he exacts exclusive devotion, that he says that they are to make no images in the form of anything. Now, why are we talking about this? Because everywhere you look, churches have images, crosses everywhere, but he told them not to do it. He was explicit. Take a look. He says, you must not. And they did it anyway. Thus, he's going to bring punishment upon them in the near future. Why? Because he says he will not tolerate it. But people say, well, he's tolerated up to this point. Yes, he did. He tolerated ignorance. Why? Well, before we go on, let's show you so you can understand for yourself why he tolerated. 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and we're going to look at verse number 8 and 9. Now, we just did a video explaining about Judgment Day and what hell is. So here we need to help you to understand what Judgment Day, D-A-Y, is all about. He says, however, 2 Peter 3 verse 8, let this one fact not be escaping your notice, beloved ones, that one day is with Jehovah as 1,000 years. Now you notice that word as 1,000 years. It doesn't say one day with Jehovah is 1,000 years. It says it's as 1,000 years. And 1,000 years is one day. Now, why would it tell us it's as 1,000 years? Because Jehovah doesn't rate his days the same way we rate ours. We use the sun to determine what our days will be. But because he is eternal, because he has always existed, there is no way for him to be able to count days like humans count days. You see, when you are eternal, why would you count how many days there are in a week? That would make no sense. But to give us an understanding of how he views a day, so that we can somewhat grasp it, he says it's as 1,000 years. So Judgment Day, if you look at Revelation, the 20th chapter, is 1,000 years long. Now, this is why he has allowed the ignorance to continue. It says Jehovah is not slow respecting his promise. He promises that to bring about punishment upon those who do not obey, as some people consider slowness, but he is patient with you, because he does not desire any to be destroyed, but desires all to attain to repentance. He wants all to stop the ignorance and do what he has requested of them. Why? Well, notice what he says he will do if people obey him. He says, but exercising loving kindness towards the 1,000th generation in the case of those who love me and keep my commandments. He says that he will exercise his loving kindness. But as we stated, this video is to discuss Jesus. Did he die on the cross? Now, if he didn't die on the cross like most people assume, and the word assume is the optimum word. I am going to paste a word here. This word is steros. And the word steros, I haven't been able to find in many of the modern translations of the Bible. I haven't been able to find the word steros in any of the modern, and I say modern, dictionaries. Now, the word steros in itself has a meaning. So what we're going to do, while I'm on this particular phone, I said phone, I'm getting ready to tether my cell phone to the internet so that I can take you so that you can see the definition for steros by us typing it in Google. Now, again, let that pull up in the back, and while that's pulling up, as you see it's popping up, we're going to tether, and there we go. And as soon as it finishes and connects me to the internet, we will go ahead and we'll type in the word steros. The word steros is a Greek word. That's why you won't find it in any of the English translations. It does translate into something. One of the versions of the Bible we have is in a linear version. So it does give us the exact English word and the exact Greek word so we can compare the two. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and look for that definition first. Now, since we were doing some other research earlier, but since we have the word, we'll go ahead and just paste and look and see what we pull up. Now, that's the Greek word, steros. Now, it's important that we understand what steros means. And I don't want to do that right there. I don't want to do this one either because it says origin of the cross. Now, that's correct. It is the origin, but we need to find out what the word means. So what I don't want to do is go to sites created by individuals. I want to go to actual sites that actually has the definition. I don't want to do like Yahoo Answers. That doesn't help me. That's just somebody's opinion. And I don't care about opinion. I don't want to do this site here because, again, we have opinion. I want to do the actual word. This one, notice Strong's Greek, and then it lists the Greek word steros, and you see the Greek spelling. That's what I want. You see, I want the actual information. I don't want opinion. And all the sites previous, they're all opinion. And as we state, we're not here to give you our opinion. Our opinion doesn't matter. Okay? So let's look up the definition.